Welcome to another Casual Friday, and for the second time in 3 weeks, I am coming to you wearing my Seattle Metropolitan sweater, which is mostly because I just don't own any other professional hockey gear at the moment. And since we don't have March Madness, we are doing our own makeshift March Madness using professional sports logos, and this week is NHL week. So, here we go with the best logo in the NHL. Real quick, just in case you didn't watch or don't remember from the previous video about the NBA, this is going to be just the top 16 logos from the NHL. The bracket could only fit 64 teams, and that means just the top 16 from each league. Plus, this is going to be just primary logos, so it doesn't matter how much better a secondary or patch logo might be for a team. If the primary one sucks, it's not going to be making it. Now, I do have to say there are going to be some good logos that aren't in this video. Because of the 4 leagues, this was easily the hardest of the 4 to determine the top 16. And while there are some stinkers of logos in the NHL, as a whole, most of the teams have pretty solid logos. Our first matchup is a Pacific Division rivalry in the Vancouver Canucks versus the Calgary Flames. Both are obviously just an embellished letter C, one standing for the team name and one for the city name. The Flames logo is clean, simple, and to the point, which if you watched the last video you know is something I appreciate. But for me, the Canucks logo has colors that I just like better, plus I do really like the Northwest Native American kind of style to it with the orca, even if an orca really has nothing to do with the name Canuck. I will say though, while I do have the Canucks narrowly winning this one, if the Flames were to go with something closer to this updated fan version of their logo, I would have no problem picking the Flames on this one. With the Flyers and the Blues, these are 2 of my favorite logos in the entire league, so I had a really hard time with one of these not making it out of the first round. But with the hidden P in the Flyers logo and the slightly sleeker and more simple look of it, I had to go with the Flyers. There are a number of logos in each of the leagues that are only good because they're classic logos, and if they were to be proposed today as a new logo for a team, the person proposing them would be immediately fired. With the Red Wings and the Canadiens though, this is just not the case. Both of these logos still hold up to this day, in my opinion, as very good logos, and while both have been slightly updated over time, they still very much resemble the original logos that the teams had. In the end though, I had to pick the Red Wings because I love the design of the wing, and the wheel is a perfect representation of the city. Meanwhile, while I do still like the Habs logo, I've heard even some of their own fans complain about it wanting an update, and to some it is known as the toilet seat of the NHL. Another Pacific Division rivalry between Arizona and San Jose, or at least it will be for another year anyway. Arizona's logo I do think is really well designed, and the colors are at least somewhat original and represent the area really well. But at the end of the day, I mean, come on, it's just not going to beat a shark biting a hockey stick. And I do have to admit that for a long time I had no idea what the point of the triangle behind the shark was, and that kind of threw me off, and I still think the logo would be a little bit better without it. But since I have heard that it represents the 3 cities in the Bay Area, I think it's actually a good addition, and it makes the logo even that much better for the area. With Boston and Buffalo, both of these teams are definitely going the more classic route for the logos, and it does show a little bit, but again, these are still not terrible logos even for being more classic. That being said, even if it is largely due to the team's success, the Boston logo is much more iconic and is a much cleaner look, which I have to appreciate even if I don't necessarily like the team. With another Canadian matchup between the Oilers and the Jets, I do have to admit that I think I'm one of just a few people who think the Jets actually upgraded when they got their new logo over the logo of the old Jets team. But in spite of that, I just love the Oilers logo. To be honest, I don't really know why. Maybe it's the unique font or the subtle orange oil drop at the top. I mean, really my only complaint about this logo is that the curve of the bottom of the word Oilers doesn't match up with the curve of the circle, which I kind of wish it did. But in the end, that doesn't ruin this logo for me in any way. I'm picking the Oilers. Up next we have Colorado versus Nashville. And I know a lot of people love Nashville's logo. In fact, for some this might be their favorite logo in the NHL. And while I do think it is a well-designed logo, I still think for me it's a little bit too busy. Plus, that front tooth is just massive and pushes the back jaw back to a point where it makes the cat look like it has a dislocated jaw. And that just kind of throws me off a little bit too much. Meanwhile, for Colorado, I love the A-shaped mountain, the wintry, snowy swoosh with the puck, and the original colors are a definite bonus. And for those reasons, I'm picking Colorado. With Minnesota versus Toronto, this is old meets new, and while there is a lot going on inside of Minnesota's logo, each element of it seems to have meaning and is distinct, so they all really add to a whole instead of one subtracting from the others. So it really doesn't have that busy feel that some of the other logos like Nashville kind of do to me. Meanwhile, Toronto's logo is one of the most simple and consistent logos in the entire NHL. The blue leaf on a white background has been their logo in some shape for the entire existence of the team, with the only exception being their very first year when the leaf was green. And that kind of consistency to a clean logo that is well designed with just two colors is something I have a lot of appreciation for and really like. But in the end, while I do really like Toronto's logo, to me it's a logo that I look at and think, that's a good logo. Meanwhile, Minnesota's, I can look at that for a while and still see new things in it. So I'm picking Minnesota. Alright, we are on to round 2 with the Flyers and the Canucks. The Canucks have better colors, and a logo that has a native design that has meaning to the area that the team is in. But I'm a sucker for simple logos and ones that have subtle little things in it you don't necessarily see the first time you look at them, like the P in Philadelphia's logo. Plus, I still don't really know why there's an orca in Vancouver's logo. I mean, it would make sense if they were the Orcas, but they're not, so I don't know. With San Jose versus Detroit, it's hard not to appreciate the history behind the Red Wings logo. Plus, even though by now you know I really like original colors, I also really like when a team just has one color and white as their only colors. But that being said, I also do really like original colors, and that's just what San Jose has. Plus, I mean, it's a freaking shark. With Boston and Edmonton, both of these are clean, well-designed circle logos that look good on a jersey and that I really like. But in the end, the Block B is just a little bit too boring, and I much prefer Edmonton's colors, so we're going with the Oilers. Between the Avalanche and the Wild, neither team has an S at the end of their name, which I really like, but that doesn't really have anything to do with their logos, and really the only way this was going to be a hard decision is if the Avalanche had their old Rockies logo instead. That brings us to the final 4 for the NHL, and if there's a decision in this that I'm going to take heat over, it's probably going to be this one. Look, I don't know that I can fully explain why I like the Flyers logo better. I mean, maybe it's the fact that it's one of the most scalable logos in all of sports, or maybe that it is just sleek and simple and has a little bit of subtlety to it. Again, I don't really know what it is. A logo with more original colors and, again, a freaking shark should easily win this, but I just like the Flyers logo, so we're picking the Flyers. Next is Edmonton versus Minnesota. And generally, I don't really like logos that have text in them. Really, the less text, the better. So it's saying a lot for a logo with text in it, especially in a league where there aren't a lot of those logos, to have gotten this far. That having been said, Minnesota's logo is just too good, and the colors might be the best in the entire NHL. So I'm picking the Wild. That leaves us with an NHL final of Philadelphia Flyers versus Minnesota Wild. Unfortunately for Philadelphia fans, though, this is where the Wild ride finally ends. It doesn't really matter how much I do like the Flyers logo, it just is not better than the Wild logo. With a name as ambiguous as Wild, it's extra impressive just how good this logo is. With the river, trees, and sunset sky with clouds across it, and a star all making up a bear's head, this logo really has everything you could want from it. Plus, the combination of that serene nature setting and the fierce bear's head is a perfect depiction of what the Wild in nature really is, even if the Wild as a team could probably use a little bit more of the fierce aspect of that. Really, if there is one thing that I don't like about this logo, it's just that I know I'll never get to see Bob Ross paint his version of it. So with that, the Wild win the NHL bracket, and we'll move on to the Final Four, so we'll see them again in the last video of this series. As always, thank you for watching. If you did like this video, there is a button for that down below. If you really liked it and want to see the rest of this series, there is a button for that down below as well. And if you want to yell at me for letting the Flyers get as far as they did, there is a comment section for you down there as well. With all that said, stay safe and we'll see you later. Peace!